This episode of the Martial Arts Icons Podcast is brought to you by Twin Dragons USA. Twin Dragons USA. Etsy.com/shop/Twin Dragons USA. Hello and welcome to another episode of Martial Arts Icons Podcast with me, your host, Ray Aldaz. Today I'm very, very excited to announce that we will be speaking with Karate Master and Master of the Oriental Martial Arts, proficient in Goju Ryo, Shotokan, boxing, judo, jiu-jitsu. He is one of the originals of a Grandmaster and original member, a patriarch of the IFFA, the legendary IFFA Black Dragon Fighting Society. Very excited to have with me on the program Grandmaster Donald Miskel. Hello, Master Miskel. Thank you for joining me.
Okay, my brother. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much. And it's an honor and privilege to have you on the podcast. And we're very pleased to know that you're in high health, because we know you've been having maybe some health issues here and there, right?
Well, the health issues are more like AIDS issues. I'm pushing 77 this year. God willing, I'll be 77 years old. And, just on the aging process, there's some challenges that have to do with aging more than anything else.
I hear you. So you're going one-on-one at a kumite with Father Time.
Yeah, but the thing is, that as a winner, that match is predetermined.
Oh, that's right. Oh, man.
Right.
Everybody goes down at the end of that one. But no, I'm very, very happy to hear that you're doing well. And, well, thank you for being on my podcast. This is the second ever podcast I've done, titled Martial Arts Icons Podcast. It's my love for martial arts. I've been a martial artist since I was a little kid, 10 years old, practicing Shotokan, just like you. And I'm mainly proficient in boxing. That's my number one martial art, which is why I was very attracted to the style of the Black Dragon Fighting Society and the styles that you guys present, because it is kind of like a mix of boxing and karate and jiu-jitsu. Pretty much you guys are the progenitors of modern day MMA.
Well, the thing is, back in the day, schools didn't have a real long shelf lives. So you studied what was available, where it was available. Now, that's how it was in Chicago. I can't say I was in places like California, where the martial arts were more established at an earlier time.
Right.
So I did I started in 1957. I was 10 years old when I started. And really, I had a friend whose father had been stationed in Okinawa. His father was a Marine middleweight boxing champ. And he was teaching boxing at one of the YMCA's in Chicago. And his son and I were in the boxing program, little kids. So he wanted to teach his son judo. He had a brown belt in judo. He wanted to teach his son judo. So we had the gym, after a boxing class. And they had mats and whatnot down there, because it was like a field house type of situation. So they had various events and different types of events there. So I started studying judo. At that time, we didn't even know what karate was.
That's right.
It's karate. We thought it said karate, But I had been reading about it in magazines and whatnot, and bought a little paperback book about the size of a regular paperback you carry in your back pocket. And it had land drawings in there. And I got, rather enamored with the so-called karate. And so what happened, my friend, I stayed with his father. He and his father about a year. I was a flavor of the day. I was his son's best friend. And so I became the uke. He needed someone his son's age and size for his son to work out with.
That's right.
And so that marked my beginning in the martial arts. Now, my formal starting in martial arts was when I was around 12 years old. I went to a formal judo school, the the Jiu-Jitsu Institute. That's the oldest karate, judo school, martial arts school, period, in the Chicago area. And I don't know if you know who Bruce Tegner was. He wrote a lot of books. Oh my goodness, years and years. But those were the first martial arts books I ever saw in circulation.
Wow.
And his parents were black belts, and they studied at the Jiu-Jitsu Institute. And he was maybe 15 years older than I. And so you can about imagine how old his parents were. So that's how old this school is. This school goes back to the early 1950s, maybe right after World War II.
Right. Yeah, because that's the martial arts that were proficient at the time. They only taught judo mainly in the military. Right now, 1959, like you said, the Institute down in Chicago, you trained judo and Kano Jiu-Jitsu under Mas Tamura, right?
Yeah, Masahiro Tamura, yes. He and his brother Bistamura were pretty famous in the United States judo, in the United States judo scene. They started teaching really early.
Okay.
You know, like I said, it was right after World War II when they started teaching. And, the relationship between the Japanese community and the rest of America was kind of shaky at that time.
Oh, yes, of course.
And they had a lot of the Japanese in internment camps and whatnot. So, like I said, this is the oldest martial arts school in Chicago. I was there one day, and I had been at that school for probably a little over a year.
Okay.
And at that time, rank came a lot slower than it does now. Now you can get a black belt in a lot of schools in 1 or 2 years, but back in the day, it took from 6 to 8 years.
It was hard work. It was tough training and hard work. It was old school, hard knocks.
Yes, it was. And like I said, I'm not old school martial artist.
Yes.
I have a tendency to teach the way I was taught. Well, hopefully I teach a little bit more scientifically, but my values have a tendency to be the same. And the black belts that I promoted, most of them have been with me about 6 to 8 years before they even got a black belt. But I'm going to give you an example. I'm not a tournament fighter. My thing was actually combat and self-defense martial arts.
That's right.
But the Black Dragons hosted a tournament in Chicago area. In Chicago Ridge. Actually, it's one of the suburbs of Chicago. But we had our gathering, our annual gathering here. And so we had a tournament, and this was around the third tournament that we had hosted, since I've been on board. And so I had two of my students actually fought in the tournament. And the tournament, because it wasn't as heavily attended by outside factions other than the Black Dragons themselves, we just fought by weight classes and not by rank. And the one who took the first place is my student, one of my students, and he was a blue belt, and he beat all the black belts that fought. So I say that to say this: a belt around your waist don't particularly speak for your proficiency.
That's right.
It's the time in the martial arts, and the dedication that you put into it, how hard you train and who you train with. That's more important than say, okay, I trained for 5 years, or I have a knee down, a second-degree black belt.
That's right.
There's no continuity between styles, systems, or between organizations.
I believe it's like Muhammad Ali said, it's the will that will beat the skill.
To an extent, there were instances like Mike Stone, talking about old school karate.
Yes.
He was actually of Hawaiian descent, but he won as done like around 9 months, and without just beating everybody that they put in front of him. And these are old school, crusty martial artists, that he was trouncing. So it's not all, to a certain extent, our native ability, what's been handed down to us genetically.
That's right.
Which determines sometimes how fast we can progress. But even so, that's why I say the belt around your waist really doesn't mean anything. It's what you have in your head.
It just holds your pants up, that's all.
Well, your geek clothes, your kimono clothes.
Right. So in the mid-'60s, you began studying Shotokan under Shojiro Sugiyama.
Yes, Master Sujiro Sujiyama. That was the first karate school in Chicago. I was at the Jiu-Jitsu Institute, being tossed around, slammed into the mat by my instructors. And they said that they had a host instructor who was going to do a seminar. And sure enough, this gentleman came in. He did a seminar in Shotokan Karate. I was fascinated with it. I was so fascinated. I signed up for the classes. My instructor, Mars Tamura, was very upset. He said, you would leave a pure art like judo, and excuse my language, for a bastard art like karate. You have to understand, karate is actually an Okinawan system of martial arts.
Absolutely.
And it came to Japan by various instructors, but mostly it's accredited to a master, Funakoshi.
That's right.
And he's the one who, through his system, they created Shotokan Karate. Shoto was Master Funakoshi's pen name. He did poetry and he did calligraphy. And that was his pen name, was Shoto. So Shotokan means the school of Shoto, or the school of Gishi Funakoshi. When he started teaching at the Kodokan, under the boundary of Judo Master Kano. So I started studying karate. It would have been around 1961 or 62. I can't remember exactly. And I started studying Shotokan. I studied there for a while. And then I met Doug Dwyer at one of the local sporting goods stores, the only one that sold karate equipment, Grandmasters, martial arts. That's getting back in the day. So anyone in Chicago who had karate gis or anything that was related with the martial art, that was where he brought it. And it was on the south side of Chicago. Yeah. And I met Doug Dwyer there. He was working the size, a Kobudo weapon. And I was fascinated by that. And I ended up training with him. I left the Shotokan with Shoreigoshu karate. And I studied several styles of karate because, like I said, the shuffle life for school wasn't very long.
Right.
School might last a year, 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years, but you train with what was available. But Shoreigoshu is my base art.
Right, and that's over at the Academy of Samurai Warriors.
Yes, that was Doug Dwyer's school. Doug Dwyer was a contemporary with John Ken, who would later call himself Count Dante.
Right, John, the legendary Count Dante.
At that time, Count Dante had John King had formed a small fledgling organization, and he called it the World Karate Federation, not the one that's in existence today. This was a precursor to that. And they formed that in the early 60s, he and Doug Dwyer. And so I was there when training with them when it was the World Karate Federation. Later, when John Ken decided to leave that behind and he started the Black Dragon Fighting Society.
Right.
I was relatively young then. And here's the thing, back in the day, it didn't make no difference how long you studied. You couldn't get a black belt until you were 18. Wow. At least in the styles I studied, the schools I studied, they didn't have children studying much. So usually when I was studying, when I started judo, I was the only kid in the class other than Master Mars. His daughter studied there. She was maybe a year older than I, and she would toss me around and power drive me into the mats. But other than that, she was the only other kid in the class. I'm 12 years old at that point. So most of the people I studied with, like in the World Karate Federation, and later on, the Black Dragon Fighting Society were older than I was, by maybe 8 to 10 years old.
Right. Very tough sparring, tough training sessions.
Well, like I said, there weren't many kids studying at that time. Usually, when most individuals were introduced to karate, when they went in the service, after they got out of the service. But usually the time that they went to service. So consequently, most of the time, people getting in, they started their martial arts careers in their 20s. And here I was 12 years old, and I'm standing up against 25-year-olds. Which, they didn't take back to my size and age. They were older and bigger than I was. But like I said, I was an anomaly at that time. You didn't get a lot of children. You didn't have children's classes, period. Everyone trained in the same class. Male, female, age, to the contrary.
Right, maybe that's why your judo master said that karate was like a bastard because they somewhat the Funakoshi. Although I love Shotokan as well. They kind of was more political and more aimed at making money, right? And instead of the pure martial art. I mean, karate was a mixture of everything, jiu-jitsu, judo, grappling, wrestling, all sorts of techniques that were split up because of this politicization and they tried to popularize it, which they did, but it was I would think it was a attempt at a money grab too, right? They saw a cash cow in karate.
Well, way later on it was, but earlier there was no money to be made. No one was making money in karate.
I see.
In Okinawa, when they taught, they didn't have schools per se at that time. In the early 20th century.
Right.
Most of the martial artists they taught in their homes, in their backyards, or if they had an area large enough in the home.
That's where they would make a dojo in their own home.
Right. They didn't even call them dojos because they only have 1 or 2 students generally.
I see.
That's why a lot of them, if you go to China during the Boxer Rebellion, a lot of martial artists got together, the Chinese martial artists, they wanted to kick the British and the non-martial artists out of Japan, out of China. Well, they were flooding China with opium, So they got together, a lot of martials got together and they fought. And of course, the British were fighting with guns, the martial artists fighting with spears and swords and bare hands.
Right.
A lot of styles were actually lost during that time because instructors only taught 1 or 2 students. So, you lose that student, you die, then the art died with you. So because of that, a lot of that probably happened during World War II because a lot of the instructors were probably lost during the war.
Right.
Them and their who kicked their shots, their proteges. So the ones that stood the test of time, are the ones that are prevalent now. Shotokan became well spread because, like I say, Master Funakoshi started teaching out of the dojo. Jigoro Kano, who's the founder of judo, and they gave him a jump start in Japan proper. But Japanese kind of looked at Okinawa as a backwater. It's like the ghetto or the barrio or whatever.
Yeah, they're their own country. They're their own people.
Right. So they became affiliated with Okinawa because they conquered Okinawa.
Right.
At one time or another. The same thing in Korea. The Japanese were very militarists, and they conquered whoever they could. For a good little while, they were in parts of China and Shanghai. They pretty well took over just prior to World War II.
Right.
So they were they had an expansionist mentality. So even though they took over karate, like Okinawa, when they taught karate, they did the same thing in Korea. Matter of fact, Taekwondo, originally, I had the opportunity to study in Japan and Okinawa and Korea very briefly. I didn't study extensively in either of those places. But I would have leave. I was stationed, in the East, so I would just take the opportunity to study wherever I would happen to be.
Right.
But Taekwondo at that time was really Korean Shotokan. The founder, of Taekwondo, Master, they say short spelled Choi, but it's pronounced Chow. But Master Chow, his assistant that he taught, he studied directly under Master Funakoshi for a while. Even the forms were the same. They Pumsi, they call them, but the kata were the same.
Wow.
Later on, because of nationalistic beliefs, they ditched that old style of Taekwondo, which was, like I say, actually Shotokan.
Right.
And they incorporated it with Keikian, which was one of the native arts of kicking art. If you ever seen capoeira, it looks almost like capoeira, Brazilian capoeira.
That's right, dance fighting, yeah.
And that's why the high kicks, in Korean Kung Fu, because they did it in Tokyo. Originally, karate didn't have high kicks. The way they taught it in Okinawa, there were no high kicks.
That's right, yeah. They call it the way of the toe. is very similar to Tang Soo-do, right? Another Korean martial art.
Right, Tang Soo-do, Muda Kwan is, when you say Tang Soo-do, that means Chinese hands is what it's saying.
Okay.
Karate was originally called Chinese hands, karate. They changed, the name stayed the same, but the characters and calligraphy were different, but it was pronounced the same. And they changed it to empty hands, just because they wanted to break the ties with China.
That's
and
right.
Be more nationalistic, because the Chinese, the Kung Fu or the Shanfa, which means tempo, and that's what it's trying to translate. The way of the best that was taught in China, and that was that was brought back to Okinawa by travelers and traders.
Right, sailors and so on.
It mixed with the art that they had Tay, which means hand, Okinawa Tay, and Chi was another art, and those were native arts, and they mixed with the Chinese arts, and they called them Chinese hands, and they were precursor of karate.
Amazing. Yeah, let's go back to the days of the USKA karate and primarily the infamous, the infamous Count Dante, his days, and the Kumite fights. I mean, I think they started in Chicago, right? There's a bridge there known as the Dante Street Bridge. I think it was called Dante's Inferno. Isn't there some truth to that? I believe Frank Dukes, who choreographed the movie Lionheart, they based a scene off of that bridge where it said that Count Dante got his name, and many of those Kumite fights, again, they're too brutal for the tournament. They would have them there, right?
Well, here's the thing. The first no-holds-barred full contact karate tournament was held in Chicago at Medina Temple. Medina Temple was owned by the Shriners, but it was a large place, and they held various events. And it was held there, I think it would have been around 1968, if I'm not mistaken, 68 to 69.
Wow.
They considered it the first Kumite because it was full contact. They held grapplers as well as strikers, but most of the arts were pure, and most of the grapplers were. A lot of people don't realize that karate actually had its grappling components, but most of the grappling was standing grappling. They felt if you went to the ground, you were basically dead. That's the way I teach, because if you get in confrontations with individual thugs or whatever, hooligans, wolves running packs.
Right.
So like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a wonderful art, but nowhere in the world am I going to go to the ground. If you throw to the ground, you have no choice but to fight on the ground so you can get back on your feet. But staying on the ground was suicide, because wolves running packs. And I know the way it is in Chicago. The one that you see is like an iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is just the smallest part. The one that you see generally is associated also with the ones that you don't see. So you got to always think there's a grave possibility you be fighting more than one opponent. So being on the ground was almost a death sentence. But karate had its grappling components, just like judo and jiu-jitsu had a timowaza. A timowaza was striking techniques, of percussion strikes. Wow. So the arts one all grappling or all striking, because fighting is a pure fight. You have to fight wherever you are, whatever position you are, on the ground, standing up, on a boat, on a mountain, wherever you happen to be. That's where you have to fight.
Exactly.
You don't get to choose generally. You don't get to choose where you fight, the topography of the land or whatever. You just fight where you fight.
Absolutely.
If you the Okinawan system of karate, if you ever study those, and then look at beside the Japanese, the Japanese components that came from those same arts, you see several differences. One is that in Japan, the stances are a lot lower. In Okinawa, the stances are high. It's almost like a boxer. You don't put them on your toes, because you just shuffle over the ground with your feet.
That's right.
Because we're always weary of foot sweeps and takedowns, so we keep our feet more or less on the floor. But the thing is, the stances were high because teach karate, they started teaching in school, like in middle school, what we would call junior high school. They started teaching it at that level, and they did it for physical culture, physical fitness. Low stances build the loins, build the legs, from the tendon, the area of your balance and the center of your energy. And from there down, it's built by those low stances, the old kiba dashis, senkusu dashis, so on, except for the cat stance, the Nigwashi dashi was the only high stance that they use in Japanese karate. But in Okinawa karate, you see a lot like the cat stance and what we call the hourglass stance.
Right.
Those are the stances they had a tendency to do. Hourglass is called sanshin. It was almost like a knock-knee stance, but those are the stances that you only fall out of.
What about the horse stance? Is that one of the strongest stances you can do?
Kibadachi is a strong stance, but it isn't mobile. Now, there's some
Right.
Kung Fu styles like Choi Lee Foot and Hung Gar that will actually fight from I call it a nut dragon. We call it Kibadachi. I forgot the Japanese name for that horse stance. But they use real low stance, and they move fairly fast from them. But they are the type of systems that are bouncing around or constantly changing position. Matter of fact, when you look at karate today in competition, to me it looks like a bunch of bunny rabbits hopping down in the air.
Absolutely.
We didn't believe in excess motion. That's energy wasted. About bouncing. You can get off a strike faster, but you have no base for it, so there's no power in it.
That's right.
So if there's no power, but see, it's point karate. So all there in this tag, you're in. The thing about the difference between the old World Karate Federation and all the other organizations is that we fought and taught and trained full contact. We had a saying in the Black Dragons. When they made that transition, class wasn't over until there was blood on the floor. And 9 times out of 10, we ended up mopping up blood with a towel because someone got their nose busted, someone got their nose, got a nose bleed. I remember many a day I came home from class limping, or my father had to come pick me up because I was in my sensei Uke at that time. He demonstrated the techniques with me. And he wasn't dealing with me. If he was showing the technique, I actually received that technique, not because I wanted to, because I was a Uke and being in that position, I had no choice. He demonstrated a Megiri, a front snap kick, Kiachi gave a front snap kick to the gut.
Wow.
He kicked me with that.
Oh, my God.
I balled up on the floor. But that wasn't an enviable position to be the sensei Uke. But you learn quite a bit because you're receiving the techniques.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, like I said, it was a whole... The karate that we did then and what you see now, they're hard to recognize, but one is the other. That's why we said we talk about the old school karateka, old school practitioners, and the ones that there's always not only a physical difference in the art, but there's a whole philosophical difference.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, today's karate, if you taught yesterday's old school karate, it has lawsuit written all over it, right?
Well, really it does.
Unfortunately.
When those became commercial, they had to start teaching. You beat up students, you lose students.
Yeah.
They weren't that quick to sue because you were always signing a disclaimer or whatever,
That's right.
But the thing is that you had to hurt the students. A lot of students just leave. Who gonna pay to get beat up?
That's right.
You had to be almost a masochist. Well, I guess I was a masochist.
Oh.
And then when I was studying with Doug Dwyer, I was the only person of color in the class. Well, I take that back. There was one gentleman, he was Puerto Rican, but we were the only so-called minorities in the class. The area I went to the school, Chicago was really segregated at that time.
Yeah.
I crossed that line at night, and it really wasn't done. You took your life in your hand doing that. But I was a young teenager. I guess that it was overlooked to an extent. I had a few problems, but I was generally the only person of color in the class. And because of that, a lot of the students took exception to my being there. And I got banged up quite a bit.
Oh, no.
Well, being from the inner city, I had that inner city edge. And I mean, I grew up fighting. I was fighting. I was an excellent fighter without martial arts.
Right.
You know, like you, I boxed. You know, I boxed CYO. I boxed with Park District. So, but the thing is, they didn't want to work out with me because they tried to bang me up. And in defense, I would bang them up. And by default, I became the sensei bouquet.
Wow. Yeah, it was a very volatile time, very volatile times. And what made Count Dante infamous at that time was that he was taking in a lot of African-American black students. And that didn't sit well with people like the Chicago PD, for one, who they looked at it as a threat. Like if your inner city black youth started to learn all these deadly martial arts, they thought they were going to be in trouble, right?
Well, they kind of thought that, but I'm going to tell you the real problem. Let's go back in history a little bit.
No problem.
And Doug Dwyer.
Yes.
They studied judo. Matter of fact, they studied the jiu-jitsu institute because that was the only judo school in Chicago.
Right.
That was always there. So almost everybody who came studied in Chicago in the 50s back, they studied the jiu-jitsu institute. But they studied judo there. They boxed at Coolin's gym, which is, I don't know if it's still at the same place, but it was there when I was younger. So
he was a boxer as well, yeah.
So they started studying karate under their jiu-jitsu instructor, a gentleman named Charles Brzezinski. Matter of fact, I studied jiu-jitsu and aikido under Master Brzezinski. He was a police officer. I know the old book Spike and Shane. He wrote this like Shuriken and the man Ricky Kasari. You know, the throwing stars and the throwing spikes. And the Ricky Kasari, the weighted chains. Yeah. So, I studied with him, but they were studying with they were studying with Charles Brzezinski. But Charles Brzezinski only had a shodan in Kyokushin karate. And he said, I can't promote you to black belt. He said, if you want to go any further than brown belt, I'm going to direct you to Robert Trias in Phoenix, Arizona. And Robert Trias was one of the United States Karate Association, the USKA, which became the USKA. It didn't exist at that time. But when it did, it was just a little fledgling or local organization. John Kim was a visionary. He had big ideas, big visions.
Right.
And so he became Trias became the head instructor of the USKA, when the head instructor, because he and Doug Dwyer were like prodigies, They took to karate like ducks took to water. And so they trained him. And Trias was oh my goodness, he was prejudiced. He didn't even like Mexicans. And the thing is, Trias was Mexican. He was from America. But he was a very controversial figure at that time. In the USKA, if you weren't white, you couldn't make right. So
right.
John broke with that. John Bleeden, he was attracted to the ones he thought were the best fighters. And generally, the most tenacious fighters are the most determined fighters, stubborn fighters, are generally in rough areas.
That's right.
If you had to fight to live, fighting became normal. So if you had the ghetto, the barrio, or wherever you happen to be, the Bowery or whatever, fighting was a reality. It was a physical reality. That's why I look at karate. I look at the martial arts different. I don't see it as a sport.
That's right.
Matter of fact, the system that I teach, it's a compilation of all the things I've studied. I've studied a number of martial arts in my it'd be 68 years in martial arts this year, God willing, if I get to October. So I studied all these different arts. You can kind of put them together. It's hard to say, okay, I differentiate this from that. Almost all my techniques, if I teach a series of techniques to address a particular attack, most of my wires are in with like an aikido takedown or judo type throw. It ends up with your opponent on the ground, generally something broken, so whatever. So someone asked me, they said, Master Miskel, why don't you're just doing a spar, like in the tournaments and whatnot. I told myself, because mine is a fighting system. And here's what I told them. I said, if competition eye gouging ever becomes a thing, my students are ready.
That's right.
You know, but something like that isn't going to be popular. But those are the things that actually work in combat. The kick to the knee, the kick to the groin, stomp to the knee, the kick to the groin.
Yeah, real time street fighting. There's the core of the Dante Ryu system.
It was a core of all striking karate system because they were taught as martial arts. Here's a tidbit of information a lot of people don't know. In Okinawa, it was not old farmers and whatnot. The working class people who studied karate. It was generally the privileged and those who had money because the farmers were working too hard from dusk to dawn to worry about trying to study a martial art.
That's right.
The people who didn't have to work all the time, like Master Funakoshi, came from a prominent family in Okinawa.
Right.
So they had the time to study martial arts. Plus, they had a feudal system, and generally the aristocrats studied those type of arts. So, that idea that you have an old farmer, where did the nunchucks come from? They were used for beating rice, to split on the right. Not so. Because they had the equivalent of nunchucks in China, popping people upside the head with us.
Yeah, a lot of those ninja weapons came from the farmers. Maybe, right?
That's a misnomer. People have been saying that for years.
Okay.
That's not particularly true. The size, that's my favorite Kobudo weapon. I use the size, that's my favorite. I use nunchucks, I do the tantra, I do the kama, I do all those different things. If you study Okinawa karate, you study those weapons. But if you look at a pair of size, there's no way in the world those were used as pitchforks to toss hay. Look at a tantra. Those were not cranks to mills, but that's the way they presented it. But those same weapons existed in China 1,000 years ago.
That's right.
So the nunchucks, the way they came about is that when you use a stiff stick a lot of times, you can only hit angularly. You can't hit around a corner, so to speak. So what they do, they broke the stick into 2 or 3 pieces. You get the 3-sectional staff that you see in Kung Fu, which is a long weapon. It's a 6-foot staff with the different, the 3 parts of the stick broken up in equal parts with chains in between. Nunchucks became the same thing.
It became the nunchaku, yeah.
If a person has a sword, can't just hit you so you can hit around it because it has a rope on it.
Amazing.
So it's like hitting around a corner so it can go around that sword and hit a person in the side of the head. That's how those were. But they became more romantic to talk about how farmers created these implements from farm too because they didn't have weapons. That's a lot of that has to do with myth more than reality.
I hear you. But your style, it's pretty much the embodiment of the Bloodsport quote where it says, you never commit to one style.
Well, again, that has to do with what's available. One thing you need to, if you're going to beat a person, let's look at a boxing. There are different styles of boxing. They all fight together. But you get some schools of boxing, the students come out, they do a lot of left hooks, a lot of overhand rights. Then you get the ones who they like to fight, so you get those short jabs, and you get the uppercuts, and I call an undercut, a low uppercut, like into the liver, or into the spleen. So it's all boxing, but the emphasis in different schools, in different styles are different. It's the same with karate, kung fu. All of this kung fu, they only have so many ways to kick or to hit a body.
Right.
There's only so many practical ways. So once you study, it don't make no difference what you study. It begins to digest down to the same thing. One might prefer to use his feet. One might prefer to use his elbows and knees. One might prefer long kicks. But generally, it digests all of those techniques in any particular art. So we thought what was available. I studied Kempo. I studied karate. I studied a couple of Korean arts. I studied Aikido. I studied Aikijitsu. But I studied what was available.
That's right.
And then you take all of that, and I don't care what you say. It gets to a point. It's hard to separate what you're doing one style from another. There's no way in the world I could teach. I have the range to do it. I could teach pure Aikijitsu and Daidaru Aikijitsu. I have teachers rank to teach it. But I don't teach it separately from the karate. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So one becomes the grappling part of my art, the other becomes the striking part of my art. So I studied jiu-jitsu, I studied Aikijitsu, karate, kempo. I studied Northern Shaolin, praying mantis kung fu. I studied Tibetan Lama kung fu, which is a right claim system. So, but all this stuff, you digest it together. So now you're a mixed martial artist. You're using what's available. You know, the things that don't work for you. Let's face it, you get a little stocky guy, short legs, big barrel chest. Taekwondo might not be the best art from it.
Oh, no.
Because it's a kicking art.
Definitely.
On the other hand, you get a school that teaches Swan Jiao, which is Chinese wrestling, so my precursor judo. And he's stocky, short leg, barrel chest. That works better for him. While someone who's long and spindly, those grappling arts might not work as well for them. So generally, when people are attracted to the arts, you attract to the arts, first of all, that you had an affinity towards, but also ones that your body, physically complemented that art, and art physically complemented your body. Right,
what works for you.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how, with judo, I was a good I never played team sports. Went through grammar school, middle school, high school, college, never played a team sport in my life. I was just saying a lot of baseball, so on, the alleys, playing basketball. But primarily, I never joined the team. My thing was always martial arts. I boxed. I wrestled in high school. I studied the Oriental martial arts lesson we used to call it, But I studied other martial arts. I had the opportunity to study Savate, the French foot fighting.
That's right.
Not to the extent that I could teach it, but I just delved in. I studied Salat. Matter of fact, when I went in the service when I was about 18, there was everybody here because when I was coming up, you got drafted. You got 18. Generally, you were drafted before you were 19. And like I said, you couldn't get a black belt before then, before you're 18. So I went into the military as a brown belt. And I studied with a gentleman in the military. His name was Benji Apolado. He was Filipino. But he studied Shanfa, which is Chinese Kempo. That Shanfa and Kempo means the same thing.
Right.
The way of the fist, a fist wall.
So you received your first black belt while you were in the service.
That's how I got my first degree black belt. I got it in that and in second, which are Chinese Kempo, and in what is it called? It's one of the Indonesian martial arts. It's slipping my mind back. I'm having a single moment. It'll come back to me later on.
No problem.
But it's one of the Salat type of styles. You see like Pit Jack Salat, or various styles of Salat.
You also mentioned Savate, which is French style kickboxing. Yeah, it's also I think one of the bases for Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do.
He did what they call Savate was literally foot fencing.
Yeah,
you use the feet. We would use our hands. They have very few punches in Savate. And matter of fact, most of the high kicks. I don't know if you follow the Karate Nerd. He's on YouTube. And
I've seen those guys.
But one of the things that he determined in his research is the high kicks in karate, because there were no high kicks in Okinawa karate, but the high kicks in karate came from their exposure to the French foot fighting, to Savate. And they like the high kicks, though they did them different, because Savate has a tendency, sometimes we'll cross our feet before we throw a kick. And the kick wasn't thrown with thrust behind. It was more like a real fast jab or a real fast snap kick.
Low kicks. And they did them with steel toe boots.
Well, they did them with the boots. Savate means the boot or the shoe.
Yeah.
And they were sailors generally. And they had these sole shoes that they wore on a ship. Because anything with steel toes, they slip. You got to be on the deck of a ship.
Yeah.
These are like steamers we have today. These are like ships with sails. And because of that, the decks will be slippery. Matter of fact, when you look at Southern Kung Fu, as opposed to northern kung fu. In the northern styles of kung fu, the stances are higher. They do more high techniques, more high kicks, that type of thing. But the people are from mountainous regions. You know what I'm saying? And they get the strength in their legs, their lower legs and whatnot. But the southern style, a lot of people lived on jumps, which are really boats. They're houseboats. Try doing martial arts on a houseboat. Boats cost a ton. So you need a wide, low stance to have stability, to be able to fight from that.
Balance, yes.
So systems differ, the styles differ according to the topography of the land or the situation, the circumstances that people lived under. If you lived on boats, you fought different than if you lived in the mountains. If you lived in the mountains, you fought different than if you were on flat land. Flat land, you don't have to worry about tripping over this and tripping over that. You just have open field, flat, low grass. It's almost like being on the tatamis, on the mats. On the other hand, if you're in a mountainous region, you're on hills and dips, then you got to be, balance is going to have to be accomplished different. You float your balance higher, than the low stances like you were seeing, like Hung Gar Kung Fu, Tiger Crane Kung Fu. So a lot of it has to do with where you are and then what you're training for. You train different if you're training for sports and you're training for combat. So not only are the techniques different, but the way they deliver is different. So, to me, I look at the martial arts as homogeneous. It's all one big ball, and you take from it what works best for you.
That's right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Now, let's talk about Bloodsport legend and fellow master of the Black Dragon Fighting Society, Frank Dux, Bloodsport legend. How important is the movie? And I asked Master Ishida Kim this when he was on the show, the inaugural podcast. How important is the Bloodsport movie to the IFFA Black Dragon Fighting Society?
Well, now you're hitting on a kind of a dicey subject. Oh my goodness.
Talk radio. Gotta keep it dicey.
There's so much myth and legend blended with reality because in the day, martial arts is built a persona.
Yes.
And this persona became the reality. It was some fact, a little fiction. It was people were kind of more liberal about how they interpreted things then. So that when you look at like Frank Dukes and the system he studied, he'll tell you, if you really talk to him, he said a lot of it. He said, I came up with myself because I studied a little here, a little there. I studied with this particular individual who, the shadowy individual for a period of time. And then I took all this together and I made it into the system that I teach and that I study today. When Bloodsport came out, I've been in the martial arts for quite a while. I didn't know him, but I met Bruce Lee before he even made a movie in the United States because John Key had hosted they ended up in the tournament, but it was a gathering of martial arts.
Exhibitions.
Ed Parker was there. June Reed was there. Bruce Lee was there, but nobody knew who he was at that time too much. But all these Robert Trios were there. All these individuals came together, and they met each other. But at that time, there were no martial arts movies. There were very few things published. There were very few books on the martial arts. Martial arts were almost done in secret. When we were studying, we weren't even allowed to tell anybody we were studying martial arts.
Right.
We had the salutation. I think it came from Robert Triot. We would do the closed fist and the behind the open hand. Karate is my secret. You take the hand, rotate them both, one hand crossing the other, the fist, the palms facing forward. So we say, karate is my secret. I bear no weapon. Then we come to a praying position. So, and I pray to God I never have to use it. So it was very secret. It was very secret. So when you look at Frank Dukes, when you look at first with Bruce Lee, he came up with his movies. And a little later on, Frank Dukes came with his movies. It was like the karate and whatnot being coming of age. It was like an exposure.
Right, revelation of the method, yes.
Right, something that you were doing behind closed doors. It became popular because we were considered kind of peculiar by our peers because we studied these arts. We never quite told them what we studied, but they knew we were into something. They said, let's chop suey stuff, you know. But with Bloodsport, with Bruce Lee's different movies, Enter the Dragons, you know, all this type of thing, it brought more exposure to the martial arts, and they became more mainstream. A lot of people end up studying the martial arts because of movies like Bloodsport.
Yes.
Or like Enter the Dragon, whatever, you know. Black Belt Jones. There are all these different genres, these martial arts movies coming out. Well, it had legitimacy. It became more the mainstream, so people stopped looking at you peculiar, or you know, looking at you sideways, because you studied some mysterious art that nobody knew what you actually putting your time into.
Yeah.
So it opened that up and became more mainstream.
That was supposed to be Count Dante up there on the silver screen for Bloodsport, wasn't it?
I don't know all of that. You know, like I said, there's so much mythos with the reality that sometimes it's kind of hard to tell where one ends and the other begins.
Oh, they had to write the movie for they had to write it for a viewing audience, so maybe some parts were going to be for a little bit heightened, sense for the audience, like the part with the dimmak where the brick explodes. Obviously, anybody that's practiced the Tibetan burning palm, the brick doesn't explode; it breaks in half. But because it's a movie, the brick has to explode.
When I was studying, Doug Dwyer was considered one of the heaviest breakers in the world, I was told.
Right.
I know could break heavier than anybody in the United States.
Wow.
He was a nukater, a spearhead, and break 2 Roman bricks with it. I mean, I was just, I would hold the bricks.
Amazing.
You know, one time I flexed when he went to do the strike. He keyed out so loud, he kind of startled me. And I saw the angle of the bricks, and he hit it and tore his fingernail off, with his fingernails halfway off.
Wow.
You know, he tore the fingernail completely off, the whole brick stayed steady, and hit it with his spear hand and broke the bricks. That was the type of breaking they were doing at that time. So Doug Dwyer used to be able to get a stack of bricks, got 10 Roman bricks. Hey, Don, which brick you want me to break? I said, break the seventh one, Doug. He'd slap it, and then he started unstacking them. He'd unstack 1 through 6 in one piece. He'd pick up the 7th brick in 2 pieces. You know, their focus was that good. I've never been able to duplicate that, and that's in all these years of martial arts. I can hit a stack of bricks and break them. Or I could in the day. I got arthritis in my hands from martial arts, breaking bricks and boards, all that kind of foolishness. You know, you mess your hands up doing that. But I should be able to break a stack of bricks. But I couldn't break it from the bottom up or the top down or the 7th brick. I could never do that. But I know because of some of my instructors that it's possible. Frank Deuce did some of the same thing when he could hit it and break a particular brick. You know.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean the martial arts is more superior. It means the focus of your strike is different.
That's right. It's a different style.
There's several ways to strike a blow. One can be a crushing blow. Another can be a smashing blow. Another can be a penetrating blow.
Paralyzing.
You're aiming at different things. If you're hitting at the nerve, say you're hitting a person in the side of the head, and you're striking a carotid sheath. There's a network of nerve there. You get struck hard there. It literally just shuts the brain down for a second.
The pressure points.
Right. So you can study those, but when you get to something like Denmark, it becomes so particular. You hit a certain area at a certain time of day at a certain time of the year because blood circulates different at different times of the day. Even just like you have the tides that go in and out, there's a tidal surge even in the body with the way the blood circulates because the gravity of the moon, the planets, and whatever affect fluid flow. So the way you would strike someone say in the afternoon would be different from the way you strike someone in the morning, and that's good. I basically call it the old man's martial art because what would happen? They studied the martial arts for 100 years, and these young whippersnappers are coming up, beating up on all the old masters. Well, let's face it. At 77, I'm not ready to fight a 25-year-old kickboxer, professional kickboxer. I have more knowledge than he had, but my body at this age refused to. There was a time I could have given him a run for his money. Might have been able to beat him.
I think maybe a little bit of the opposite. I think that because of all your knowledge, you can definitely beat someone like that. Maybe not in his sport or in his exact style, but let's say like what you preach, the street fighting. Definitely. That's why I believe there's all these older martial artists that can beat the younger people because, like in boxing, for instance, they have to wrap their hands. I think they don't really know how to punch, as to where a martial artist, they know the exact way on how to punch, how to position their hands.
Well, here's the thing. A combative art, again, is different from a competition art. Competition has rules.
That's right.
Combat has no rules. Also, most people think if you look at the martial arts movie, street fight can last for 5-10 minutes. I've never seen a street fight go more than 2 or 3 blows, and that's from both opponents.
That's right.
That's how real fights happen. It's not idealized like it is in the movie, or stylized like it is in the movie. So take that into consideration. A lot of times, if I'm facing an open hand is faster than a closed hand.
That's right.
A jab is faster than a thrust. That's why the left jab in the orthodox fight is his fastest weapon.
Absolutely.
That's faster than a reverse punch, or hook, or overhand right, because it's direct and to the point, and you are slowing the muscle down with muscle tension for strength in that punch. You depend strictly on speed. Well, if you change that from a jab and you're doing it with a finger flick, but the fingernail will come like a whip, and you shoot that up real quick. Before the person even see that and recognize it as an attack, it'll hit your eyes, and that's generally the end of a fight, because you can't see, you can't fight.
That's right.
So when you're going to talk about getting back, I talk about pressure point fighting. Here's what I teach my students. I say the only pressure points you need to worry about are the eyes, the foundation, you know what I'm saying, of the body, and the breath. Of course, it's consciousness. A person unconscious, of course, you can't fight. But generally, if you attack the eyes, attack the nose, then the eyes are going to water, or you can literally blind somebody by hitting the eyes temporarily or permanently. Well, generally, that's the end of the fight, because you can't fight if you can't see who you're fighting or what you're fighting. I don't care how many times you've been in a dojo trying to fight somebody blindfolded. Reality is a lot less forgiving. So the other thing, if a person can't stand, they can't fight. So you stomp the knee, you stomp the instep. You now with the Muay Thai, you kick at the side of the calf or the thigh, to incapacitate the balance. If you can't walk, you can't stand, you can't fight. That's right. The same thing with breath. You hit somebody in the throat, or hit someone in the solar plexus, or hit someone in the nose and break their nose, blood their nose when he's breathing and swallowing blood. If you can't breathe, you can't fight. So that's the way I teach my students. Those are the pressure points that we worry about. Trying to hit something the size of a nickel when a person is in motion, and you got to hit it at a different angle at different parts of the day, becomes impractical. But actual combat, or the old man who knows Kung Fu getting beat up on by some young whippersnapper, he can do this little bitty move, hit this, and this opens up this cheat meridian, hit that, and then activated, and then a week later he's coughing up blood and dies.
There you go. Yeah, that's why you see that's why you see older martial artists. They usually are able to beat the younger guys. You don't see in boxing; it's the opposite. You see the young guys beating the older guys, but in martial arts, it's the older you are, the more powerful you are.
Well, I tell my students, I said, listen, I said, for 5 minutes, I can be your worst nightmare. I said, if you can last for 6 minutes, you got me. Because I'm an old man, you know what I'm saying? I don't have the stamina. I don't have the wind.
That's all you need. 5 minutes. That's it. 5 minutes alone.
well, fights don't last 5 minutes. Jenny, if we square it off, and I flick my hand, and just hit you with my finger, a little backhand slap in one of your eyes, that fight is over.
Oh, yeah.
Because though I hit one eye, you can't see out either one of them, because both your eyes are going to start watering. At that point, I have several options. I could run away, which is probably the better option. Because, once you fight that standing fight, your next fight is with the judge and maybe 12 jurors.
Oh, man.
Because you can gouge someone's ass out or stomp their knee backwards, and they're going to be crippled or lose their leg. Well, now you got to deal with the justice system. So you have you incapacitate them, run. You get the heck out of Dodge.
And the future fights you'll have in jail once they book you, hook you, and book you for that.
They would. So consequently, in karate, the way they always say karate has no first blow, no opening blow. All kata starts with a block. All kata starts with a defense, and then it goes into what they call counter. Because karate is really a counter punch system.
Yes.
That's why the bread and butter punch in karate is a yakuzuki, a reverse punch, what a boxer will call a right cross.
Yes.
That is the bread and butter punch. Karate, by the way, te means hand. Kara means empty, so it's empty hand. But it's generally a hand system that is supplemented by several kicks. That's old school karate. Karate now, you got like Taekwondo, which is 70% feet and 30% hand, which is really, that's what they say, but it translates out as around 90% feet and maybe 10% hands. Or then on the other hand, you get one of the Okinawan system, which is 70% hands and 10% feet. So, Taekwondo is time limited because it's so theatrical and so acrobatic. It requires more flexibility and more. It requires more of the body. As you get older, your joints get stiff. I've had several back fusions. That changed the way I kick, not because I wanted to change the way I could kick, because with my back fusions, there's only so many ways I can kick. It changed the way I can kick. So these things affect your martial arts. In Okinawa, most karate had a longer shelf life because the kicks were low. The punches were all straightforward punches. If you're throwing a sekenzuki covers what we call a jab, what we consider a thrust, what we consider mawashi-zuki, which is a roundhouse punch.
Right.
Those different ways of striking all are incorporated in negiri. Negiri just means fist punch, so whether it's to the judan area, the face area, the head area, shudan, which is the middle body, the gaidan, which is the lower body, you hit different from those areas. So whether you're close, where the hand doesn't turn at all, it's almost like an uppercut. Or whether you're a middle distance where the hand revolves halfway, it's like a tate, what's called a sitting punch. If you ever seen Ishinryu karate, that's where they punch. They don't turn their hand completely over so the palm is facing down. Or if you punch it further, more distance learning system, the hand rotates completely so that at the end of the strike, the palm is facing down. But all of those are incorporated into sekenzuki.
Wow.
So when you take that into consideration, all these, you only have just means hands. So you got those strikes, you get your strike. All the strikes in karate at one time were straight because the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line.
That's right.
And our vision is primarily binocular vision, but we see motion with peripheral vision. If you punch it straight down someone's middle, they might, and you come to, I'll give you another example. The reason they have brake lights on cars is because by the time you realize a car had stopped in front of you, you just slammed into it. Because distance is really dealt with more with, and motion is dealt with more with peripheral vision than binocular vision. Binocular vision gives us the ability to see something at a distance. And try to determine the distance. But really, if you look in a straight line, you'll be up on something, or it'll be up on you before you realize it's in motion. That's why karate uses those straight blows, straight into the point. They do what they call an oizuki, which is a lunge punch, or a step-through punch, and they can do it so fast it's scary to death. But the thing is, it's not that the punch is so fast, it's just because it's coming to a straight line. By the time your body makes the motion attack connection, and your either your reflexes, or your brain sends a signal to counter it, and the counter attack, a lot of times you've been hit. So an old man can throw a real quick, straight punch is faster than a hook punch, an angular punch.
That's right.
A jab is faster than a right cross because it had to travel further up the back foot. Or reverse punch.
It's closer. Also, it's not closer to the target.
Faster, but it doesn't have the power penetration. The hardest punch a person can throw is a reverse punch, or right cross. That's the hardest punch. It's from a kinesiology point of view.
Be like also be like an overhand right.
Overhand right is a powerful punch, but it's not as powerful. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
If you throw a hook, your body weight isn't behind the hook. Now you can turn into the hook slightly. Put your hips into it.
Yeah.
But all your body weight is behind it. If you put, I'll give you an example. If you hold a bow staff, a stick, a long stick directly in front of you.
Yes.
A person can hit that stick and push to one side because it's weak from side to side. But coming straight forward, if he puts his hand on the front of that stick and pushes, he's pushing against all your weight. All your weight, because it's coming straight forward, your weight is behind that stick. And it's hard for him to block it, it's hard for him to stop it. But if he sways that stick, it's using its trajectory and the speed that it picks up over the endurance of that particular technique to gather power.
Yes.
Well, you can cut that with a straight line. If a person is throwing a roundhouse punch, you can step in generally and catch him with a jab or a reverse punch. Simply because the other has his travel further. And then if you hit with a reverse punch or a right cross, all of your weight is directly behind your weapon. You understand what I'm saying about your weight behind your weapon?
Yes.
When your weight behind your weapon, you're not hitting just with the speed of that weapon, but you're hitting with the stability or the weight of that body. And there's a little bit of forward momentum, like in a lunge punch. Now you have an extremely powerful punch.
I see.
If you get hit with this concept of karate, when I was taught karate, we were taught one hit, one KO. There were no combinations. That came from the Bruce Lee era, where boxing was added to the mix.
Yeah.
But all of our effort went into one strike. And my thing was this: if I could hit you with a reverse punch, I guarantee you were dead. That was back, like I said when I was younger. If I hit you with it, they were going to pick you up and carry you off the mats or the streets or wherever you happen to be.
Good night, Irene.
And hopefully you survive it.
Yeah.
But, like I said, I can't do that with a hook punch or with an overhand right. I knock people out with overhand rights. But it's different from knocking someone out and smashing their face in so you question the brain. They'll the sinus cavity into the brain.
Absolutely. Oh, that's if someone's attacking you, trying to kill you, what else? What other method do you have at your disposal?
Well, you know what? If a person's trying to kill you, you have no choice but to be pretty. And Aikido, or Aikijitsu, not so much as Aikido, same techniques, different. You aiming for different ends. Aikido is designed to deal with a person, to contain a physical threat and not hurt the person any worse than you have to. Aikijitsu uses the same techniques, but theirs are finishing techniques. You plan to slam this person head first into the concrete and end his life. They're the same techniques, different purpose. So martial arts is the same way. Throwing jabs and whatnot is good because you can set up a right cross, but a jab isn't a killing blow. The karate equivalent of the jab is, by the way, is a back fist. It's a back fist. But that is a killing blow.
Oh,
it's a stunning blow. But in karate, really, we believe in crushing blows. We condition our hands. We build our bodies. We have all our weight behind that reverse punch or that lunge punch. All of our weight is behind that. All our forward momentum is behind it. If you hit somebody with that one time, generally you kill them. I can knock somebody out with a right cross. I can kill them with a reverse punch.
Oh yeah, no. The karate master's hands are conditioned with the wooden makiwara and many other techniques. You see the masters have these giant like bunions on their fists. I mean, they could break bricks, man-made bricks, as well as solid, natural stones. It's just incredible.
You can do it, but look at these Okinawan match. I was looking at that thing on YouTube, and they had the prevalent Nasowichi-Ru, which is a hard style of karate. I mean, they kick with their toes.
Oh.
When we do a front kick, they kick with the balls of. But you look at that guy's toes; they look like they have been destroyed. His hands, the fingers all crooked. And,
oh yeah.
Well, when I was studying, we conditioned our hands, but not to that extent. I used to have big calluses on my fist, but that's unsightly. If you have a wife or girlfriend, they don't put up with that. You got hands like bones. They don't want you to touch them with that.
Right.
But I have a Makawari now in the back. I have a heavy bag in my. By the way, in my house, I have a pretty good sized house. I have a gym here that rivals most health clubs. I do a lot of weightlifting, even at my age. So I have all this equipment. I have a heavy bag in the back. I have a speed bag, and I have a Makawari, and I still condition my fist. But now I do more what they call iron palm training. So you don't have these big, unsightly calluses on your hands, fingers all crooked. What you try to do is condition the hands from the inside out so that you don't deform your hands.
Right.
My students, I don't let them do that type of training at all. The martial warrior, the breaking techniques, because I've broken all my fingers, I've broken all my toes, I've had both my thumbs dislocated, I've broken my foot, all this stuff. I've broken my hand several times.
Right, it's got to be precise. It can't.
Somebody, they move and you hit them at the wrong angle, and you aim it at their head, their nose, in the forehead, which is the hardest bone in the body. Then you break your hand. So I've done that several times. I don't want listen, you're going to use your hands for something other than hammers to hammer and nails.
It's a good way to get on the sideline, on the injured list real quick. I mean, but that being said, the palm is definitely better than the closed fist.
They each serve a purpose. The palm doesn't have the wrist of the fist, or the reach of the fist, first
Right.
of all.
Right.
Second of all, if you say go-ju karate, go-ju means hard, soft. That means a lot of the techniques are more circular, so they're more soft techniques. But it also means you strike hard with soft and soft with hard. If I'm hitting you with my four fists or with a sacred silky, and I hit you in the forehead, I don't care how conditioned my hand is, your head is going to be stronger than my hand.
That's right.
Those small bones in the hand. And I'm more subject to hurt. Now, it'll hurt you, but it's more subject to injure me. It might snap your head back. You might end up with a concussion. But I mean, immediate gratification. If you're fighting somebody, you want to hit them, and then 2 or 3 days they bleed out from an aneurysm. Or from a rupture. But did you win that fight? They could have killed you.
Oh, man.
But they go home and they die from the residual effects of the fight. You didn't win that fight. They didn't win that fight. So the idea is to be able to get the telling blow that's going to be immediate. That's why Denmark takes time. You hit somebody, hit them here, hit them there, then they might collapse there, but they might collapse a week later. What good are they going to do you in the fight that you're in right now?
Exactly.
If this dude can beat the snot out of you, so you can get that one little finger pecking to activate that chi marine that's going to kill him a week later. Well, he can kill you while you were, in the time that it takes for him to finish that fight, go home and die. So in that case, neither one of you won the fight.
Absolutely. You also don't want the technique to hurt you more than it's going to hurt them.
And if you break your hand, that's what happens.
Oh, man.
So we condition our hands, but I try to do it moderately with my students.
That's right.
Because you're going to use your hands for something other than weapons. Your hands are your creativity. With your hands, with your mind. The mind thinks that the hands accomplish it. You need those dexterity and whatnot to build things, to manipulate things.
Absolutely.
If you beat your hands into the nerves, now what are you going to use for the delicate work? Listen, you're not going to only hit somebody upside the head in your lifetime. Hopefully you're going to hold a small child.
Right.
So your hands have to be capable of both of those things, but none of them being compromised by your training.
In my case, that's totally true because I make jewelry with my hands, so I got to be able to hold small hoops and do things. And if I'm totally busted up my hands, with the makiwara, and that's the thing. See, a novice thinks that they could just punch a makiwara with 100% power, and that's not the case. You got to have precision, conditioning, like you said.
Right. Well, we in Japanese karate, kime is the thing. that focus where you strike them theoretically. You stop that punch at a point, and all of your energy is directed towards the body, through the body, because the body's mostly fluid.
Yes.
And whenever you strike fluid, you're going to have, I forgot what it's called. Like I said, I'm getting older. I have a hard time pulling words. Hydrostatic shock.
There you go.
If you hit somebody and you get that hydrostatic shock, I think there's a bullet can hit a bullet's pretty small. Even a large caliber bullet is pretty small compared to the human body. If the only damage that bullet does is it has to do with how the diameter of that bullet, so it goes right through you, and as big as your little finger, then you have a hole to the body the size of your little finger, which may or may not kill you. On the other hand, you get a bullet traveling at hypersonic speed, and it hits flesh, it's going to create a hydrostatic shock, which means you get a wave going through that like a wave on the ocean.
Right.
And that wave is so hard that it can rupture flesh. It can literally explode an organ. You hit someone in the kidney with that, the kidney generally ruptures. Hit someone in the liver, that liver ruptures in the heart or whatever. You rupture the tissue beyond where your hand is reaching because of the hydrostatic shock. And that's what you look like we do when we try to do chemate. But chemate doesn't use as much penetration. So what I try to do with my students is get them betwixt and between. You want deep penetration. But by the same token, you want that focus, so you can stop that punch and allow that hydrostatic shock to travel through whatever you're striking.
That's right. Like it could be like kinetic energy, also, right? The kinetic energy of the shot, the power.
Well, kinesiology is the study of motion in the body. How the body produces energy, say in a particular mechanical motion.
Yes.
And so we talk about a kinetic shock. Kinesiology is come from the word kinetics. And it has to do with how the body works in unison with other parts of the body. If you strike a karate, we stack the joints. When we strike, we stack the joints. You can hit somebody with a hand in different positions, but the joints unstacked, meaning that the wrist is aligned with the elbow. The elbow is aligned with the shoulder. The shoulder is joined in rotation with the torso. The torso goes through the legs, which are braced and pushing against the floor, against the ground. So what really happens, if you just want to look at it, that when you're literally hitting a person with the ground, your fist is the point of contact, but your power coming from that thrust, or that the turn of the hips and the forward thrust from with that back foot off the ground.
Right.
So that's called stacking the joints. Everything is aligned. There's no give. Whenever there's give, then I tell you what, I'll give you an example. I was teaching at the largest YMCA in Chicago. This place is like 22 stories high. It has several gyms in the place. So we generally have several martial arts classes going on at any given time. And there's just one gentleman, his name was Tucson, and he taught the Muslims, he's the fruit of Islam, he taught them their martial arts. And so he had this student, and because I had students, and we talked basically within an hour with each other. Our classes were kind of overlapping. We get to know each other and whatnot. We watch each other's classes. Well, I was in the park, but I lived across the street from the park, and I had hoisted my heavy bag on my shoulder, wrestled it over across the street to the park, hung it in a tree where I had a rope hook, and I hooked it and I'm over there kicking and punching the bag. What happened with one or two science students come along and said, "Oh, you're hitting the bag." Let me show you something. I'm going to show you power. I'm going to show you what I'm capable of. I said, "Well, sir, you go ahead." You're a younger fella. He hauled off, and he hit that bag, bam, a reverse punch, and the bag swung almost up to its parallel with where it was attached to the tree. He said, "Now, that's power." I looked at him. I said, "That ain't power." He said, "Well, what is it?" I said, "It's wasted energy." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Let me show you something." I teed off. I hit that bag, bam. You know what the bag did? It jumped up in the air. It didn't swing.
Wow.
What it did, I hit the bag and I penetrated the bag, completely focused. The bag literally folds around my hand because two solid things can't occupy the same space at the same time. And because it didn't have the time to swing away from the punch. See, if I hit something that swings away, that means part of my power is going into pushing that bag. And the further that bag flies away, the more your power is on the surface of that bag, and that bag is moving away from that penetrating power. If on the other hand I hit the bag, well, the bag's got to do something. That energy has to be expelled somehow or another. So the bag would jump. But that meant that almost all of that power went into that bag. If he had hit somebody. The way he hit him, he would have knocked him down, which probably would have finished the fight. If I had hit him, they'd have been standing there, but then they ended with a Russian split.
Oh, yeah, they would have been paralyzed. There was a paralyzing blow.
They'd have been dead.
Permanently paralyzed. I'm sorry.
Well, they're paralyzed eternity.
Oh, my God.
But if you hit someone, how much power does it take to hit someone in the throat to kill them?
No, not much. That's very easy plays, yeah.
Not much at all, you know. We use a nukate, which is a spear hand. We use a shuto, which is a knife hand to attack the throat. Or we use a hurricane, which is that leopard's paw, that hand fist. Because you go in that small space between the chin and that small space. But if you hit that darn thing with a nukate, that's more of a jab. Because all the power is concentrated in the fingertips, it's liable to rupture the trachea and the larynx. But if I hit it with like a leopard's paw, which I can put more or less full power in that, like I can in a regular punch, all that's just the four knuckles is gonna hit that. It's gonna destroy your throat. Your trachea is gonna spasm. Your larynx is gonna literally explode. It's gonna be destroyed. Right. And when you inhale, you're gonna be breathing blood if you can inhale at all.
All these techniques, they sound like they're right out of Count Dante's Dance of Death. Also, really debilitating, powerful techniques.
They're included because they're effective. Like I said, there's only so many ways a human body can strike another human body. Nothing is unique to any art. You know, almost all of them are striking arts. Just again, they can strike with the elbow. Most martial, I'm not talking about boxing. But boxing is a sport, so they wear the hands. They wear the gloves to protect the hands of the fighters. Yeah. But in karate, we condition our hands because you don't get a chance to go put on gloves or wrap your hands before a fight. Yeah, that's not happening. you just wait till I wrap my hands and put my gloves on. I'm kicking your butt. He's sitting there tapping his foot, just waiting till you get prepared to beat his butt. That ain't gonna happen. No. If a fight jumps up, you got to deal with the weapons that you have. I like to do a lot of strikes. I do a lot of knife hand strikes. I do a lot of open hand techniques. Nice. Palm heels and whatnot. But for me, a palm heel isn't like to strike out with straight from the body. I will, but that's if I'm gonna strike straight up on the body, I'm gonna use my fist. The fist is hard. The body has to give to it, and I want to be able to penetrate. I want to be able to penetrate ribs. I want to be able to penetrate into organs. You can flick a blow. A back fist is a real quick fist. And the thing is, generally the hand is down slightly when you deliver, so you don't see it until 6 inches from your temple. And you get popped in the temple with that. That's going to incapacitate you. Not something to kill you. Yeah. But it's going to incapacitate you. On the other hand, I can do almost the same motion. I use a shuto, which is called a knife hand, a shiriuto, which is it's a variation of a knife hand. They call it an oxygen hand. I can hit you with that in the temple, or a tatui, a hammer fist, and I pretty well guarantee I'm gonna kill you. Oh, absolutely. That's a kill shot all the way. So the attack depends on the weapon, and the weapon depends on the type of attack you use. Absolutely. Well, Master Miskel, it's been a great program, and I want to thank you for taking the time to be on my show, my second ever Martial Arts Icons podcast. And you're a true martial arts icon. I actually petitioned Black Belt Magazine. It was February. It was Black History Month, and they were showing the usual, Ron Van Cleef and Vic Moore and Jim Kelly from Enter the Dragon. I said, why don't you guys add Don Miskel? Add Master Don Miskel to the list, because he's a true icon of the martial arts, and you definitely are. A vast library of fight knowledge, and I hope to have you on again. I wish you high health, and it's great to hear that you're still training. Your weight training and your kabuto, because that's really what it's all about as a martial artist. You never stop training. Well, we do what we can. What our bodies are blessed to still be able to do. Absolutely. Being a martial martial art, I'm a minister, former pastor,
That's right.
And that affects the way I see the martial arts, So martial arts is supposed to be a life experience, and it's expressed through the way you live your life, and your life is expressed through the way you practice your martial arts. And so it should be a homogeneous mixture. We're eclectic in our lives of what we do and how we do it. So our martial arts should be reflected in every part of our life.
Right, yeah. It helps us get in touch with the great spirit, the God spirit, the if you're practicing the right martial arts, right? You're in touch with the force, like they say in Star Wars.
Well, there's no coincidence. A lot of these martial arts were originally taught in temples.
That's right.
So these were just very spiritual individuals who are studying these arts. But it's been a privilege being on your program and having an opportunity to talk to you. It's been a long time coming because of my circumstances. It's kind of hard to pin me down to a time, but things are easing up and loosening up in my life a little bit now. So it's been an honor. It's been a privilege to spend this time with you.
Same here, Master Miskel. Thank you so much for being on the show, and we'll have you on again when you're ready. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Bush, my brother. Bush.
Os. Thank you. Grandmaster of the legendary IFFA, Black Dragon Fighting Society, and Karate Master, Donald Miskel, folks. Well, thank you very much for listening to the Martial Arts Icons podcast. If you want to support the program, please go over to my Etsy store, etsy.com/shop/Twin Dragons USA. That's etsy.com/shop/Twin Dragons USA. Os. Sayonara.